Okay guys, we are going to get started on our ZIS 5 build. Alright, it's a model kit by Zveda. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Zveda. The nice thing, since this is a Soviet World War II era transport truck, we'll be transporting our troop kit that is on its way from Japan. I am glad to see that this is actually made in Russia. Quite fitting. Now, with that in mind, with the imported Russian kit, the quality of the kit is definitely not as good as Tamiya, but it's still decent. One of the things I've had to go through, they've located the letter of the sprues in odd places on different sprues. So you notice on this corner I just took a red marker so it's easier to find the parts, because I'm finding the other thing I kind of don't like about this kit is you'll have one assembly. Say we're doing this assembly here, well, you're pulling parts off of literally all 4 sprues, where Tamiya does a really good job of when you do an assembly, most of what is in that assembly will be on 1, maybe 2 sprues. So you're constantly shuffling sprues around and hunting for parts. It takes a little bit longer to do. So what I've done so far, guys, is I have gone ahead and assembled the chassis off camera. I have assembled items like the springs, all this stuff. Now this is kind of reminiscent a little bit of a Dragon kit. I will warn you, there's a lot of small parts. It's definitely higher part count than a Tamiya kit. We got your running boards, you got your radiator, you got your little, these were all separate parts here on the front of the kit. All that stuff was separate. All those little doodads, little hooks, the springs, the supports, the side rails, all these supports in the middle, those are all separate pieces that need to be glued. So it was a little finicky, you know, but I can't say enough good things about this Tamiya glue. It really does fix rather fast. It may not be a real hard seal, but it at least gets the parts to hold together while you work on doing other things. So what I've got here is a few different assemblies we're going to do here real quick on this video, kind of as a part 1. So what I've got here is my cab. So I've got the little components to the cab, the basically back section of the cab, and you can see that we've got, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're gonna throw together the driver. It comes with the driver, which is nice, Soviet driver. We have 3 components here, which will be our headlight assembly here, and we have a gas tank. We have the seat for the driver, as we're going to do as a part of this video. I went ahead and started prepping my, this would be our commander. I did go ahead and clean off the mold lines, which there were some. There was some cleaning of the mold lines that needed done, so that his hands would fit in right on the sides of the hatch, like he was grabbing a hold of the hatch. I did have to clip a couple of spots on the arm and reposition his arm on the right arm, so that when I get this fully painted, primed and painted, or base coated and painted, we can, once we get him in the tank, the T-34 tank, we will have a nice fit with his hands, and it'll look really cool. So yeah, so we got the loader, and I've also got the driver. I may have mentioned in the other video regarding the T-34. The T-34 is basically completely done. We got some highlighting to do. I'm going to show that to you here in just a second. But there is a driver's seat. Now, we started with a base coat of black, as I showed in the other videos. I went ahead and did do the spray for the initial top coat, which is in a, what did I use? I used the camo olive the camo olive green. It ended up being a perfect match for the Russian tank color. I also picked up something else for you guys that are getting into airbrushing, and you don't want to buy special airbrush paints. You just want to stick like what I want to do. I've already got a big collection of Vallejo paints, and I didn't want to go buying a whole new set of paints just for airbrushing. So Vallejo sells this airbrush flow improver, and you get out your airbrush, and the bowl of your airbrush, you start off by putting some of this in the bottom of the bowl, 2-3 drops depending on how much paint you're putting in. Put your paint in on top of this, and you take your stirring stick like I use with my detail painting and work that into the bowl, and then this worked amazing. It gave a great finish. I did have to turn the air pressure up more from like 15 psi to about 20 psi, and the paint flowed great. It really sprayed really well. Mixed up a large bowl, since my airbrush comes with a large and a small bowl. I went ahead and put on the large bowl and got our tank prepped. These two basically snap together once I get the driver painted. Now, I may have mentioned in another video, I didn't think there was a place for the driver, but there was a piece that you could put next to this clip that holds the tank down, the top of the tank on, and right there is where you're going to put the driver. He ends up sitting on that one little section, right, and it perfectly positions him so you can see him from the driver hatch. So that was kind of cool. So that problem got solved. But you can see we did with the black base coat, we started getting some nice shades, and then I did the nice light top coat with the olive camo green. So it's coming together really good, guys. Again, great kit. And then we'll go through. I've got the stowage. I've got my tools I'm going to paint separately. We got our tow cables glued on. Everything's on there that I'm going to be detailing, and we'll do an entire video on the detailing and weathering. So that's how we're progressing on that. So let's get back to the Zveda. The Zveda truck. And it's a ZIS 5. I'm assuming that means it's a 5-ton. Okay, so we're going to take our foot panel. I'm going to clean off the mold, injection mold spots real quick with my blade. Any of the flashing, so that everything goes together nice and smooth. So make sure we got a nice wide angle here. I'm going to go out just a little bit on that, guys. And let's get this thing going on. Sitting here today with my videos. I'm actually doing the Indiana Jones series again. I love them. Never get enough. It's like watching the first original Star Wars. I mean, you can just watch them over and over. And so that's what you want to do, guys. Once you clip them off the sprues, you new guys getting into this, you just take your hobby knife, get off the little bits, here. So we'll do, this is the rear of the cab, and we'll cut away. I'll do the front of the cab, and we'll get closer and closer to being done with this little kit. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to do a black base coat, and then we'll come back in with the olive drab, and then sometimes when you have mold lines on the side, you just drag your blade across that mold line, which this doesn't have any mold lines. They're nice parts, right? It's just a little bit more confusing on the instructions. Like I said, the parts are in several different sprues, so you have to bounce from sprue to sprue to clip out all the parts, which is kind of a pain, I guess. Not too bad. Happy to have a model kit to build. Gotta be careful with these little parts and get them cleaned up. So this goes on the front of the truck. So this is going to go in the front. And looking at the directions here, trying to find a location for the mounts, which is right on the top. There's little tiny little tabs, and it looks like I'm going to have to use my tweezers on this one. Not a perfect matchup, but it's close. So I'm going to set that down. One with my Tamiya. Cement. A little dab there, a little dab there. I'm going to go back in with our mounts for our headlights. We'll go ahead and line him up per the instructions. That's a toughie. That is a toughie. Get him nice and straight. Pull him up. I almost got it there. Let me get it down on the shot here. Almost got it there. Let's push him up just a little bit. This side's come off. Yeah, this is a toughie. This has got a doesn't match up perfectly, but a little extra glue. We're going to get that little front piece. You can see how fiddly that was. But hey, man, if it was easy, everybody would do it. And put a little bit more glue to make that a nice solid seal. Carved a little bit too much plastic off there on that piece, and we'll let him sit and let him dry before we mount the headlights. I'm going to take my headlights, my hobby brush, or my hobby knife. Look at these, make sure I'm getting all the flashing off and they're nice and clean, ready to mount. Now of course these have little clear plastic headlights we'll put in later after we're done painting. And wanted to also throw out another shout out to Andy's Hobby Headquarters. You gotta go and watch those videos, guys. They're great to watch while you're working and building on your other model projects. We've got the little steering column here. Inspect that, see how that's looking. We've got just a little bit of flashing on this to clean off, just a tiny bit. And then we got our shifter. We got our shifter cleaned up. We've got our driver's seat. Driver's seat back. Little nips and nibs off of those. And we've got our driver. So let's go in, let's get him cleaned up. A little piece on there, get him off. Get him cleaned up. Once we get him assembled, I'm going to need to go back in with my file and my blade and get some of the, just a little bit of mold lines. You can hear that scraping noise, and that's just turning the blade to the side. I find that works a lot better than using a file. Sometimes I have to get in there with my round file in the little nooks and crannies. The less you can use your file though on this harder plastic, the better, because it does leave residue and shavings onto the model. And then when I come in, I come in with my duster brush, right? I'm gonna make sure I get all that stuff off with an old duster brush. Okay, so let's get this guy knocked out. Another proud sponsor of the show today, guys, is Dirty Bastard. Don't leave home without it. this guy going on, get him glued down, and we'll come back in once he's good and dry and make sure we're getting all the mold lines off. Everything's nice and smooth so that when we go to put the base coat on and start our detailing, we don't see any mold lines. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, so to speak. Alright, so let's go ahead and put him together real quick, then I'm going to do a cutaway and we'll come back and I'll show you the assembled pieces, the assembled minor assemblies, and we will put them onto the chassis. So let's go ahead, just for giggles here, we're going to go ahead and put our Russian driver together. And I'm going to show you how smooth this glue is. Go on in. We'll hold him together for just a little bit. You see how fast this sets up, and then as it continues to dry, it literally just fuses the plastic together. Alright, so there's the legs. We're going to put those down. We're going to come in with the arms. I think I'm going to come in first, guys, with a dry fit. I want to see if there's any trimming that needs to be done. So I'm going to take that right arm. I'm going to see how well that's going to fit. That looks pretty good. I think I'm going to go with that. I'm going to come in with my glue. Put my right arm on, or his left arm on, I should say. Make sure it's nice and flush. And you can say, boom, it's holding on already. Just that fast. I didn't think these Tamiya cements, that's why I've always used the super glue. The Bob Smith, which I'll still continue to use for certain projects, but I'm telling you, I'm sold on this. Absolutely sold on it. Alright, arms, that's how fast, guys. Boom, boom, boom. It makes the building go so much faster. Legs, and that's together, just that fast. We got our seat. We got two little tabs here in the back. They want you to put glue on. We'll take our seat, put our seat together really fast, kind of like a tack weld. I'm coming in with just two spots on the back there. Boom, that fast, guys. It's set. It's set enough where you can move on and work on something else. Put a line of that glue right down the back of the seat. I'm going to set my seat down. I'm going to put my rider on the seat, and that's going to work really nice. So, there you have it. He's ready to go into the truck once we have our cab assembled. So, I'm going to cut away, we're going to come back, I'm going to get the other sub-assemblies together, and we'll get them, and I'll do a final cut where we will actually put everything on the chassis so you can see the truck coming together.